Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and in today's video I'm going to share with you guys my early Game Week 8 transfer plans. Now it is of course the international break. The Game Week 8 deadline is not until the following week, so hold off on your transfers because injuries usually do happen during the international break, so we want to be able to react to that. So I'd advise that you only make your transfers later on in the international break. I myself won't be making any as well, but I just thought in today's video I share with you guys where my head is at in terms of future transfers. So if you guys do enjoy this one, please do drop a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. So for game week 7, I'm recording this after the Everton versus Newcastle game, so all the Saturday games have been played. There are still games on Sunday to go, but to get this out for you guys on time, I've had to record this right after the Everton and Newcastle game. I have two players to go, Brennan Johnson and Morgan Rogers. And the current rank is 184k in the world, so it's quite a decent sized green arrow. I do expect it to drop a little bit because Cole Palmer, who is quite highly owned, is going to play on Sunday. Same for the Villa players as well, like Ollie Watkins. So it could drop a little bit, but if Brennan Johnson comes through for me, who I transferred in for Luis Diaz before the Game Week 7 deadline, if he does well, maybe I'm able to hold this kind of a position. So I'm still very pleased with how my team did in Game Week 7 overall so far. Compared to Game Week 6, I would say it's a world of a difference because in Game Week 7, a lot of the kind of picks that I kind of backed to do well did so. So let's go through some of the different players that I just want to highlight. Flecken unfortunately did not keep a clean sheet again, so I am a bit concerned about the Brentford defense, but I don't think I'd be making any transfers for the goalkeeper position anytime soon. The earliest I move for and the only one I'd make the transfer for is Raya, but that probably only comes after Arsenal's difficult run of fixtures in from Game Week 9 to 11. So earliest possible move for Raya is Game Week 12. Aside from that, in defense, it's Trent, Lewis and Gabriel. So I'll speak about Gabriel first because it's quite shocking that Arsenal did not keep a clean sheet there. And for Southampton to score 1 goal against them in Game Week 7 and also for Leicester to score 2 goals against them in Game Week 6, I don't think it's anything that any of us expected, but it turned out very well for my team because I was backing against the double Arsenal defense by going for Havertz in front in the forward line and also Saka in my midfield. So I've gone for double attack, which has worked out very well. Over the past 2 game weeks already, Havertz has outscored, say for example, if I'd gone for Saliba or Raya. And I think there is a bit of kind of fortune with respect to how it turned out for sure. But I do think like moving forward, I still want double Arsenal defense for the time being at least. So I do think like maybe come Game Week 12, that is where I shift towards. And Havertz probably won't stay in my team for that long, but he has done very, very well. Got a goal in Game Week 7 and also 2 bonus points as well. So I'm happy enough that I've gone with Havertz here. Couldn't have turned out any better for my team. In terms of Saka, he's got 16 points. I don't think I was as close to captaining him as maybe some of you guys were. And for those of you who actually were brave enough to go against the grain and captain Saka, those were really, really kind of good points for you guys because I think there was decent consideration to be given there. And if you really went for it, I think kudos to you guys, you deserve the points. So Saka 16 points here, happy enough that I at least have him in my team. Now for the rest of the players, Trent thankfully managed to keep a clean sheet even though Liverpool were not very convincing against Palace. He got a clean sheet and 2 bonus points. For Rico Lewis as well, Man City again did not keep a clean sheet. It's quite worrying at this point how they keep leaking goals to every team that they play against. And I do hope to see an uptick in the defensive numbers for them. But thankfully enough, Rico Lewis got an assist from quite a fortunate kind of run of play where he just passed the ball to Doku and Doku dribbled all the way and shot and scored the goal. Basically an incredible shot that he pulled off into the top corner. So I think lucky enough to get a return for Lewis, but I hope to see Man City improve defensively moving forward. For the time being, it is looking quite worrying. Now, the last player at least I just want to mention is Mbeumo, who continues to score for Brentford. Though they scored 5 goals and he was only involved in 1 of them, I just like the fact that he continues to consistently return week on week. So hopefully he can continue to keep it up. And for Semenyo, he blanked against Leicester. Bournemouth losing 1-0 to Leicester came as a bit of a surprise to me. I did expect that they would put up a bit more of a fight. So I do think like Semenyo is someone that will drop down to the bench for the next few game weeks from game week 8 to 10. But after that, when you look at Bournemouth's fixtures, they still are very good. So I don't intend to transfer him out anytime soon. For the Brennan Johnson and Rogers kind of picks that haven't played yet, I will update again in the pinned comment down below where I'm at in terms of rank as well as total points after they've played. So that's all for game week 7. Let's have a look now at game week 8. So this is my team for game week 8 without any transfers made so far. I have 1.7 million in the bank and I have one free transfer. But when I look at my team overall for this week, as well as the bench depth that I have, I do think like this is a week I can genuinely roll the transfer. I know I said this for game week 7 and I ended up making a move of Diaz to Johnson. But this week, I think it's different in that the bench depth is much better. Aina against Palace and Greaves against Everton, those are decent enough fixtures for the two defenders I have on the bench. So if necessary, I don't mind starting either of them. And this rolled transfer for game week 8 will come in very handy later on, as you'll see in the transfer tinkering section for my future plans. So the aim for game week 8 is to roll the transfer, and I'll probably set up something like this in a 3-4-3 formation. So it's Flecken in goal. Now this is probably the least ideal fixture I have in terms of defensive fixtures. But I look at Verbruggen on the bench, he has Newcastle away, so I take my chances of the Brentford defence against Manchester United. In defence, it's Trent, Lewis and Gabriel. Again, it will be a concern as to whether Lewis will start or not, because that's the nature of Lewis as a pick, but at least it gives me a lot of confidence that despite him playing a lot of minutes before game week 7, he was still someone that Pep started in game week 7 against Fulham and played the full match. So I think he's young, and I do think like Pep also acknowledges that he has more minutes in his legs as compared to, some of the other older players. So I like the fact that Lewis is getting a lot of minutes, and I still like the positions he's taking up. I just want to see a couple of clean sheets from Man City. Surely in this span of good fixtures that Man City have, that they will be able to keep a couple. So hopefully against Wolves, this is the start of it. Now for Trent, he has Chelsea at home. So not a super easy fixture, but it is at the end of the day at Anfield. You could argue that I could drop Trent down to the bench and start Aina instead, but I'm kind of favouring Trent's attacking threat a little bit more now. And that's why I have him in the starting 11 and I have Aina down the bench. But I am thinking about it and it'll come down to the deadline for that. In terms of midfielders, I have Mbeumo, Johnson, Rogers and Saka. All have decent enough fixtures. I say Manchester United for Mbeumo is a decent fixture looking at the way they're defending. Saka against Bournemouth, I have no issues at all as well. Johnson against West Ham, looking at how Spurs are playing, I'm quite confident of Johnson doing well in this fixture. So it's Rogers against Fulham away that might be a tricky one, looking at how solid they are as a team. Looking at the way they played against Man City in game week 7 as well, I think Fulham are a very good side. So maybe away from home, Rodgers might struggle a little bit against Fulham, but Villa are playing very well at the moment, and at the end of the day, Rodgers is just 5.2 million, so what he enables for my team, I'm just happy enough to start him against Fulham here. Up front, it's Havertz, Haaland and Chris Wood, all with very good fixtures. It's Bournemouth away for Havertz here. Hopefully he can continue to keep up this incredible goal scoring run before I sell him for Solanke, as I'll show you guys later on. And then Haaland against Wolves away, likely going to be my captain in game week 8. It's less of a debate, I'd say, for game week 8. Probably Haaland against Wolves is where most people would go, but then again Saka has Bournemouth, so maybe some people swing that way. For Chris Wood, he has Palace at home. I dropped him down to the bench in game week 7 against Chelsea, but now in game week 8 where he has Crystal Palace, and also for the next few game weeks he has decent enough fixtures, he's going to get a good run of a couple of games in my team, so hopefully he comes through as well. So you see that my team for game week 8 does not really need a transfer. And again, the bench depth, I'm happy with that. If I need to kind of drop some players down to the bench and start Aina or Greaves, I don't mind it at all. So this is my team for game week 8 and the plan is to roll the transfer. But let me show you guys the future plans from game week 9 onwards and how I intend to move my players around with the funds that I have. So this is my team on the Fantasy Football Hub transfer planner, exactly as shown in the graphic just now. And I'm going to walk you guys through a provisional transfer plan that I've mapped out for my team all the way up till game week 14. It's going to be quite a couple of game weeks and there will be multiple players that I'll be shipping in and out of my squad. But at least I want to show you guys where my head is at and hopefully I'm able to convey it clearly to you in this kind of transfer planning walkthrough. So for game week 8, one free transfer and 1.7 million in the bank. I intend to roll it. Moving on to game week 9 now, this is when I need to make 2 transfers, and that is where the main reason I've rolled the transfer in game week 8 comes into play here. So I'd have 2 free transfers and 1.7 million in the bank. This is the start of Arsenal's tricky run of fixtures, and it begins with Liverpool at home. So this is when I'd sell both my Arsenal attackers. Saka goes out of the team, and Foden is the player that provisionally I'd want to bring into the team. So Foden comes in here, and Havertz goes out of the team for Solanke. So with these 2 transfers made, I can basically go with this team that I have for a good number of game weeks, just rotating the players I have on the bench into the starting 11 as and when I need to, when the fixtures get tricky. So say for example in game week 9 here, there's Arsenal away for Trent. I drop him down to the bench and I play Aina. So this would be the team for game week 9. I move over to game week 10 now. It's also a week I don't need to make any transfers. I can simply rotate my bench options. I can start Trent against Brighton, and I can drop Aina down to the bench if I so wish to. If not, the rest of the fixtures look pretty good. From game week 11, this is when I also can roll the transfer with a couple of rotations in mind. So Semenyo comes in for Rodgers. Gabriel has Chelsea away, but I think I'm happy enough to start him here. If not, the rest of the fixtures look pretty good still. So for game week 11, plan is also to roll. Come game week 12, I will have 3 free transfers and 3.1 million in the bank. This is a week I intend to make a double change, and it's also the week that Man City start to have a tricky run of fixtures, and it begins with Tottenham at home. So Foden leaves the team for Cole Palmer, because just nice from game week 12 onwards, Chelsea have a very good run of fixtures, and this is when everyone will be hopping on Chelsea assets if they haven't already. Cole Palmer definitely a player I'd want from the get-go. So game week 12, I'm bringing him in, and also Chris Wood is going to leave the team because this is the start of Nottingham Forest tricky run of fixtures. So Wood leaves the team, and Cunha comes in because he's a player I've been eyeing up since, I think game week 2, game week 3 kind of a period. And I just like how involved he is in the Wolves attack. Wolves attackingly are decent. Defensively, they just let in a lot of goals, right? But I just like Cunha as an option moving forward with the fixtures they have. So Cunha comes in for Chris Wood, and Palmer comes in for Foden. And this would also mean that I can't reach Saka in game week 12, which is also when Arsenal's fixture run gets good. So I would be sacrificing the Saka pick for 2 game weeks, and I'll get him in game week 14, as I'll show you guys. So I'll keep Trent here because he has Southampton, and you realize based on this transfer plan, I would have Trent through the slightly difficult run of fixtures for Liverpool. So this is one of the compromises I'd have to make, but I think it's not too bad. For this week in particular, if I want to drop Johnson down to the bench because he has Manchester City away, then I could very well play Rodgers instead, who has Crystal Palace at home. So still for game week 12, the plan is to do those 2 transfers, and I'd carry over the 3rd free transfer into game week 13. Game week 13, the plan is to sell Trent because he has Man City at home. I'd sell him for 8 Nuri. For the time being, that is the player I'm eyeing up. So I bring 8 Nuri in for Trent, and thereafter it would leave me with 3.7 million in the bank to bring Bukayo Saka in. But I wouldn't do it this week because the player I intend to sell for Saka is Brian Mbeumo. Now that could sound crazy, but hear me out. That will be done in game week 14. Let me just set the team for game week 13 first. And this is the week where Rodgers has Chelsea away. So I think this is when Brennan Johnson could come in. Lewis has Liverpool, so I could play Aina against Ipswich. So with this kind of a rotation in mind, the team still looks pretty good. Come to game week 14, I'd have 2 free transfers and 3.7 million in the bank, but I only need 1 to do Mbeumo to Saka. So the reason why I'm okay to sell Mbeumo in game week 14 is because I've had a look from game week 14 to game week 18 at least. Brentford do have a tricky run of fixtures coming up, and it's also why I intend to start Verbruggen instead of Flecken for the foreseeable next couple of game weeks from game week 14 onwards. So I sell Mbeumo, starting with this Aston Villa away fixture. I lose him, and I bring Saka in, and Saka will likely be in my team all the way until the next wild card. And thereafter, there's 1 free transfer used already. I would do Verbruggen in for Flecken, and then make a couple of other rotations as well, like starting Lewis against Forest, for example. Rodgers against Brentford could also come in for Semenyo, who has Spurs at home. So that is the plan for now. It is quite a complex plan, and obviously a lot of things could change, but as I've shown you guys, I've mapped it out all the way until game week 14, thinking about how I want to bring in players in my team such as Palmer, Foden, etc., and fit them in different times that I think they would be good assets to have. And there's also, I think, the trend this season where we would need to rotate among our premium midfielders or premium assets. So coming back to game week 8 now, this is where you see that in the larger scheme of things, I need this one free transfer to set my other transfers in motion later down the line. So the plan for game week 8, hopefully it goes according to the plan, is to roll the transfer and carry my 1.7 million into the next week to make 2 changes in game week 9. So for game week 8, again, this is how my team looks like. Let me know what you guys think of the transfer plan, and if you guys have mapped out your plans as well, let me know down in the comments below. Nothing is set in stone, just a provisional kind of forward thinking, and I'd be keen to know where you guys are at as well, what future players you'd like to bring in and fit into your teams. If not, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please do drop a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here, and I'll catch you guys in more game week 8 content over the international break coming very soon. Bye bye.